What's up, everybody? You're back in here with the Pro Football Pod. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach. We're hanging out with you guys. We're really excited to continue rolling on with this positional preview series for the season here. We've got tight ends for you today. If you're not already, go to @ProFootball_pod on X/Twitter. Follow us there. If you hit that subscribe button down below, once we hit 500, we're giving away a free jersey of one of you lucky viewers' choice. And every 500 viewer benchmark, we are going to do a jersey giveaway. It's just going to help you guys. We want to do it for you. So, I mean, everybody likes free stuff. Get your free stuff. Tell your friends, hit that notification button up there. Let's go ahead. Coach, how's it been, buddy? How's your week been?
It's been good. We finally had our first full week of preseason football. So we're starting to get some ideas on like usage and like who's on the first team offense.
Overreactions.
Yes, a lot of overreactions.
Like I've learned JJ McCarthy should have gone number 2 overall. I've also learned Caleb Williams is the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, he only threw 3 incompletions and 2 of them were drops.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I've learned Malik Neighbors is just going to be a complete bust because he just can't get targets out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, yeah, I love the preseason. So many. I will never pay attention to the preseason stuff ever since Jamar Chase.
Exactly.
Like,
that's the perfect example.
I've never paid attention to it before because it is preseason, but that just put the stamp on it for me.
Yeah.
Like all the turmoil that he was going through in preseason because he couldn't catch the ball, literally couldn't catch a cold in the winter. And then he starts out his rookie year and just has this historic rookie season. And
exactly.
I'll never pay attention in the preseason again, except for things like usage.
Yep.
How much they're trying to work certain guys.
Are they on the first team or are they coming in the second?
Exactly. Like, Dolphins fans. So we're always going to reference the Dolphins, but a guy like Jalen Wright, like, is he getting any work with the ones whenever the ones are out there? Like, those are things that you do want to pay attention to, or like a young offensive lineman. So there are benefits to the preseason. So let's go ahead and get into these tight ends and tell you guys who we're looking at and who we think you maybe should look at for your fantasy drafts coming up. Also, we have a Pro Football Dynasty fantasy league going on, and we'd love you guys to join in. Go ahead and comment down below if you'd love to join into that as well. We want people, we want to stay with it. We want to be committed. This podcast is going to roll on, so the Dynasty League will go as long as the podcast goes. So hopefully forever, right? You can have Caleb Williams for his entire career. You can do that. It's possible.
So starting with the bottom 5, I had Brock Bowers at 15, Cole Kmet at 14, Dalton Schultz, Pat Freiermuth, and then Dallas Goedert as my 11th tight end that I would take in my leagues. And I think Brock Bowers is probably a lot lower than most people are going to have him. Here on Fantasy Pros, they have him going as the 11th tight end off the board. It's just an opportunities thing. They've got Devontae Adams. They've got Jacoby. They've got, the guy that they drafted last year, Michael Mayer. So I think that there's a lot of like opportunities that aren't going to be there for him. That all the guys above him, except for maybe Cole Kmet, have more opportunities available. I know Dalton Schultz is in a very crowded offense, but Pat Freiermuth, Dallas Goedert, like these guys get opportunities every week. Freiermuth is a touchdown-dependent guy, but I mean, he generally gets touchdowns if he's playing a full game.
Schultz didn't make my list.
Okay.
So my 15 through 11 is Cole Kmet, Pat Freiermuth at 14. I've got TJ Hawkinson at 13. I know the injury's there. At where he's going in drafts, I don't care about the injury. There's still value there. I got Brock Bowers at 12. Now, while I agree with you about the opportunities, I think that the mismatch that he will present from his positional standpoint, I'm not going to be shocked to see him take stuff away from Jacoby Myers. Like, he's not going to touch Devontae, but I wouldn't be shocked there. And then at 11, I also have Dallas.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't put TJ on my list because of the injury. Not only was it a bad injury. He's also 27 years old. Like, he's on a very crowded offense. There's a rookie quarterback there that's potentially going to be starting by the
What's
time
our
he's
motto?
playing. I know
What's our motto?
rookie quarterbacks love their tight ends. I just
Okay.
and he's on a great offense. I'm just a little bit weary of him. I'd rather not draft him this year. He's definitely on my do not draft list.
Stay
But
tuned for that episode later. Little tease there.
so my next five, I've got Jake Ferguson at 10, David Njoku at 9, George Kittle, Kyle Pitts, and then Evan Ingram at 6. And I think that Kittle's probably a little bit lower on my list than most people would have him. I know Kittle is, for Fantasy Pros, he's the 6, and Kyle Pitts is the 7. I think that Kittle is just such a boom or bust candidate every week.
Yep.
I don't like that. Kyle Pitts legitimately might be the best receiving option on his team. Drake London, people are foaming at the mouth for him, and you have to take Drake London in the first or second round. You get Kyle Pitts in the 6th round. And I don't care about the whole tight end thing. The guy's a wide receiver. He's going to line up.
As Justin Jefferson is, he's great. Easily top 3 wide receiver in the league, like with no hesitation.
Yes.
Kirk Cousins has never had somebody like Kyle Pitts to throw to.
Yes, exactly.
Like the athlete that he is, Kirk Cousins has never had a guy like that from his positional standpoint. So like I'm higher than most people on Kyle Pitts myself. Like I'm not buying what we've seen in the past. We've got a whole different offensive guy coming in.
The first time he's got a real quarterback.
A competent quarterback, like exactly. Like I think this is where it's going to be. This season's going to be, I see why he went number 3 overall.
Exactly. I think that a lot of people are going to be scared off on him. That's why he's going in the beginning of the 6th. I would maybe be willing to take him at the end of the 5th. Maybe even like mid 5th, right after like the 4th or 5th tight end goes off the board.
Yeah, so give you my 10 through 6 just for the sake of discussion. At 10, I've got Jake Ferguson. 9, I've got David Njoku. 8, I've got George Kittle. 7, I have Evan Ingram, and 6, I have Kyle Pitts.
So why do you have Evan going after Kittle? Is it just because of everything we just said?
Yeah, everything I just said to where, and also, like you said, in the passing game, we should see an uptick from Drake, but I would not be shocked to see Kyle Pitts be the number 1 passing option. Whereas for Evan Ingram on his team, I don't know if necessarily he's going to be that week in and week out. Like he's still going to get his targets. And I mean, it's just a 1 spot difference. And I love Evan Ingram as part of one of the guys waiting to pass on the early guys. I'd be completely fine with Evan Ingram. I just think Kyle Pitts will have more opportunities than Evan Ingram's going to be able to have with the other guys they already have on their offense.
So with Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones being there last year, he still saw 143 targets with 114 receptions. Yeah. The reason I have him 1 stop above Kyle Pitts is because I think he's safer. Brian Thomas and Gabe Davis are in a lot of ways a lot like Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones in like what their potential could be. Brian Thomas's ceiling is uncapped right now. We don't know how good this guy is, but from what I see, Christian Kirk's kind of the one that's taking the most negative from those 2 guys showing up. Evan Ingram, I think, is a total lock. I mean, I would take him absolutely as the 6th. One of my core strategies is going to be let the first 5 tight ends go and then snag Evan Ingram as soon as I possibly can so that I've already got 4 or 5 pieces before I pick him, and then I just set him and forget him.
I love Evan. He was one of my favorite guys to bet prop bets on last year as far as receptions and yards, just because it was hard to get a beat on him, but he was consistent for about 5 to 6 receptions and 40 to 50 yards a game. Like you knew you were getting that. So no, I fully feel you. So let's go ahead and what's your 5 through 1 sitting here?
So Trey McBride at 5, Dalton Kincaid at 4, Mark Andrews 3, Travis, and then Sam. And I think that the biggest conversation has to be had with 5 and 4. I think a lot of people have Trey McBride as their 4th best tight end. And he only really has Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, and then he has Kyler Murray's legs, plus James
Hmm.
Conner. Those are all the things that are stopping Trey McBride. I think that if Marvin Harrison wasn't there and he was going to get the exact same situation that he had last year, and he was going to be able to get fed the targets like he got last year, then I would probably take him as the third or fourth tight end, like a lot of people have him. But right now, the 106 targets he got last year, I don't think he gets close to that. I don't think that that's a possibility for him. I think that Dalton Kincaid showed himself in the second half of the season as a guy that's going to run through brick walls for that team. Like, he's going to do
Hmm.
whatever it takes. He's a lot more scrappy of a player, I think. So I'd be willing to bet that Dalton Kincaid has a better fantasy season.
Yeah, and I'm fully with you on Dalton Kincaid. I think he ends up probably leading the Bills in targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns. Would not be shocked to see just across the board. Trey McBride, though, I also have him at 5, but I'm I could have put him a little higher. Like I was sitting there back and forth because I do think he will be able to get 100+ targets again because outside of Marvin Harrison, he doesn't have anything. And last year they didn't really have receiving options either. So I'm looking at it as not really much has changed other than he's a year longer in the system. He's, no longer a rookie. He's coming in with more experience. And when you look at his game logs from week 6 on, he never had less than 5 targets. And then from week 8 on, the guy averaged 9 targets a game. And so, like, I don't see that changing with Marvin Harrison coming in, anyways, because now, if anything, they have more distraction on the outside to possibly open things up for him there in the middle. And
I,
then,
yeah.
go ahead.
No. Go say what you're going to say.
Well, I was just going to say, and then my 4 through 1, I've got Mark Andrews at 4, Travis Kelce at 3, I've got Dalton Kincaid at 2, and Sam Laporta at 1. And I'm not going to lie, I was very back and forth on putting Dalton Kincaid at my number 1.
Really?
Like
Uh,
I'm not joking when I think I don't see anybody else on that offense doing anything worth of note other than Dalton Kincaid. Like they brought in receiving abilities, but they brought in a bunch of band-aids.
Yeah, I agree. Keon Coleman's the only potential, and
The
he's
touchdown
still,
maybe, like,
yeah,
for me
but
with
he's not going to
Keon
be
Coleman,
heavily
like,
targeted.
you're praying for Mike Evans type production out of Keon Coleman. Like,
Yeah.
and you would love it, like 10 touchdowns, 1,000 yards. Like, okay, cool. I just don't see that coming. Like, I
Yeah.
don't see the athletic ability for him to be able to get open. I think it's just you're hoping for maybe Devontae Parker, and Devontae Parker had solid seasons, but I mean, you're just looking at a jump ball artist.
So with Mark Andrews, we've talked about him a lot this offseason, and most of what we say
Mhm.
about him is that he's the type of player that you could take him early, knowing that you can take Isaiah Likely much later in the draft, and you're going to get
Mhm.
similar production. But I think that that really has to say about how much the tight end is utilized in that system. Because of Mark Andrews, I'm not drafting players like Zay Flowers. I'm not drafting players that are the other receiving options on that team
Mhm.
because we just know that Mark Andrews, it's not even about how heavily he's targeted. It's about how much of his targets he reels in, how many yards he's able to get, and his touchdown count. Even though he's got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, like he's going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns from 20 yards out. That's just what he's been doing his whole career. It was really hard for me to put him less than 3. I think Travis Kelce still has more opportunities, more potential for touchdowns. And then Sam Laporta, I mean, the guy absolutely did it last year. He finished the season with 10 touchdowns, 120 targets, 86 receptions, and I don't see anything changing. I think Jamison Williams being better is only going to help him more. I don't think that it's gonna hurt him at all. So for me, it's Sam Laporta, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid, and then Trey McBride at 5.
Which, and I love Mark Andrews. And so for me, it was just a matter of, I think the three guys ahead of him, Kelsey, Kincaid, and Laporta, are going to be leaned on more slightly than he will. Because like you just stated, I agree. Like, he's going to affect everybody else on that offense before anyone else affects him.
Yeah.
And so he's going to get that work. My whole thing, just like I said, dropping him behind those guys is Kelsey is Kelsey. He's always going to get his work with Mahomes. Like, that's just how it is. Laporta, we saw what he did last year. Like, barring any injury, I don't see any of that changing. If anything, I think they might lean on him more.
Yes.
And then I already went in with Kincaid for you. And I mean, Mark Andrews, you look at last year to where it's like, all right, he only played in about 10 games, right? But it's, you take him getting rolled up on because of a hip drop tackle. But as soon as I watched it happen, I knew exactly, he stayed down. I was like, he's out. Like, I saw it, and that's why they banned the hip drop tackle. We can get into debates all day with people about whether they agree if it should have been banned or not. There's too much evidence of dudes' knees just blowing out because of that style of tackle. And I played football forever. I never tackled anybody that way. I never had to.
Yeah.
If you tackle them correctly, you don't have to do that, but that's another discussion. So it's not like a health thing for him either. He is just getting a little more long in the tooth.
28.
And yeah, so that's my thing is, he stays on the field, you're good, but you do have that insurance policy. If you do draft Mark Andrews, my opinion, you have to draft Isaiah Likely at the end of the draft.
Especially 171st off the board means that he's not getting drafted in most leagues. Don't draft the kicker, draft Isaiah Likely. And then if you have to drop like the last wide receiver or the last running back that you drafted, hold on to Isaiah Likely on your bench all year long. Like, there's no reason to not keep that kid if you have Andrews.
No, he's one of the top handcuffs in the league, regardless of position.
Agreed.
But hey, we're here for you guys to try to help you out. If you take any of this advice and it ends up leading to a championship, thank you. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you being here. Hit that subscribe button down below. Every 500 subscriber benchmark, we're going to give away a free jersey to one of you lucky viewers. Help us, help you. It can be done. It's very easy. Tell your friends, tell your family. TulsiRoseTea.com is the sponsor. @ProFootball_pod on the Twitter machine. We love you guys. Peace out.